Welcome, everyone, to the Winning Together podcast. My name is Shay. I'll show you the way Aslet. And today I have this rock star guest, and she is, I shave my hair because I care. That's who's on the podcast today, because the care is about herself. And we're going to go into how to be mentally unhealthy and okay, mentally healthy, to find a way to be okay with yourself, letting the support system that is winning in, how to use your techniques of burning bridges to burn the right bridges moving forward. And so, Miss, I shave my hair because I care. Like, tell me a little bit about what's brought you to this joyous point in your life and this place of progress, and what are you doing to kind of like generate that good energy? So give me a little bit of history and backstory, and what specifically you want to share and communicate today.
Yeah, for sure. So I started my journey on getting mentally healthier from my depression and my bipolar and my anxiety. January 2020, around the 22nd, I was super suicidal at that moment. I had like a plan and everything like that. And then I reached out to a friend who cared. And I saw her care and her genuine concern. And so I sought for help. And it's kind of been an interesting world to be thrown into. I didn't know much about like where to find help, but I knew what I was getting was not enough. So even though I was only there for mental health, I looked for like an inpatient like recovery site that like focused on trauma. And then I came to a recovery center to help cement that process, what I had learned and what I was doing.
I think it's actually, here's the deal. Being healthy mentally and emotionally is hardly trained and hardly taught, and yet we expect it to be there no matter what, rain or shine. And when it's not there, we like pretend that the other person is broken or that we're broken somehow, and we're not going to talk about it. Yet the pain and the suffering is significant, and yet there's so much shame around it, and kind of this idea of like, well, just toughen up, or just, be okay, or you're not praying hard enough, or whatever it is. How did you not let the pain and suffering like overwhelm you? And how did you treasure that part of you that you knew you like was worth saving and investing in and seeing?
Well, actually, I'd like to put out the idea and the thought that I did let it consume me. That shame and that ugly place and feeling weak and less than and broken really overwhelmed me. Because if I hadn't let it do that, then I would have never sought help, and I would have just kept pretending and smiling and moving on the path that my society had deemed correct and what direction I should be going into. So because I got that chance to be overwhelmed by it, I was able to really realize how not okay it is and how something needed to change.
How did you open up and become more workable too? And how did you, like, finding a resource that cares, and, I don't think it happened the first time for you, or maybe it did. How did you pursue and have the courage to pursue that?
Yeah, well, so at first, I just started with mental hospitals and going into inpatient, but I soon kind of found out that didn't work for me because they weren't really meant to keep you long term. They kind of taught you skills, but they were more about finding a medication that they could just prescribe to you and just send you on your merry little way. And on July 22nd, I had this plan to kill myself on the 24th because they could celebrate with fireworks, which seems really messed up. But there was just one person I honestly cared about. I had been a companion with her on my mission, and I cared so deeply about her. I was like, I just have to see her one last time and make sure she's doing okay. And then I saw her and I completely lost it. I was like, I care so much for this person. I can't put them through this.
Wow.
And so because of that, it kind of got me out of that really dark place and spiral and everything like that. And I was just like, I need something more. So I actually was supposed to go to more of like a mental health institution, but they were all full. And so by fate, the universe, I got put into a rehab center instead, which seemed a little unconventional, but they were like, well, if your life's at safety, then my insurance said that they'll settle for it.
Okay.
And so it was more of, I truly believe when you are trying to do the right thing, you're going to be led and guided by your higher power, or whatever that looks like to you. Like, you're going to be led and guided to the place that you need to be in.
What made the shift, the switch to going that no one's got my back to the universe has got my back?
So it's been a long journey. I've really struggled with my spiritual aspect and having like a built-in religious system from when I was very young to not wanting to follow that because it didn't resonate with me. And what really helped me feel my connection to my higher power, which I view as the self I can become.
Well, you're such a spiritual person too. So to like, not honor your spirituality or feel like you are, then to now honor it is a big shift for you.
Yeah, very true. Like, spirituality's always been something really important to me. Like when I was a child and I was learning about Christianity, because that's the faith system that I had, I was fully dedicated.
You loved it, huh?
I loved it. And then I realized it wasn't serving me and that I didn't really get a chance to question it.
Ooh.
So when I started questioning it, which was the moment I came out to my parents as being lesbian, is I'm like, wait, some of this doesn't reside with me because who I am is a good, great person, but I'm constantly being told that I'm not those things. So I had a huge fight with myself for a year, just struggling with the fact and the knowledge, like, I feel like I'm a good person, but everything I've been taught says I'm not a good person and I need to change my very essence.
And the more you disappear yourself and the less you end up feeling of anything. And you really do get to a place where you don't feel like your life really needs you because you're not even in it. You're not even being you. Tell me a little bit about the family dynamic. So some families, it seems that a generation ago, if there's, real adherence to Christian, way of thinking and believing, there's a lot of shame around mental health, questioning the ideology, having a different sexual preference or perspective, or, maybe a different way of viewing the Christianity. So tell me a little bit about the family dynamic, and how were you able to see that this family dynamic is not conducive to me being a healthy person?
Yeah, for sure. So I have a mother and a father. They've stayed married my whole life. They got married before they had kids and did the steps of becoming parents. And then I have one older brother. So it was just very small. And it was like always a competition for love. It was always a competition to be noticed.
Between siblings or between your parents, or competing with church aspects or work aspects?
Just everything. Like, we were just kind of always in the state of like competing and comparing and being enough.
Hustle for your worth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my dad is a very hardcore person. He's very masculine in his thoughts of don't show weakness. Like, you're okay, do hard work, things will happen, and just put your head in the plow and go. just very tough, stubborn, and, you know, like there's care there, but like he doesn't know how to show it. And then my mom actually also suffers in the mental health category. So growing up a lot, like she would isolate herself. That's where I became a big fan of like sleeping and cuddling, because the only time I could actually ever interact with my mom is if I'd go down into her little depression hole and just sit with her for a bit.
Wow. Okay.
And then my brother has ADHD, and he's a great guy, but like he is all over the place and like very energetic, and you just can't get him to sit still unless he wants something. Then he can just hyper focus on it. So my parents struggled with that aspect, especially my dad, that he had that condition. And he felt like he had failed some way. So my role in the family then became, I'm okay, everything's okay. I'll tell a joke, I'll laugh it up. Like, I'll just be the child you don't have to worry about. I never had curfews. I never had boundaries in my life. I was just like...
Always got good grades.
Decent grades, you know.
Good enough, right?
Good enough, yep. Passable. And I kind of became their show child in an aspect.
Was brother acting out? Or he just going through the experience of somebody who has got ADHD?
He was just going through experience of someone with ADHD.
With parents who weren't able to accept it or like get present to it or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I became kind of their show child. I served a mission for the church that I was active in, and that's when everything kind of came to a head.
Yeah.
I was out there for several months, and then I was companioning with someone, and they were just mentally, verbally, physically abusive.
Ugh.
And I tried telling leadership, like the proper people, and they used my favorite line, pray harder.
Yeah.
Pray it away.
Right.
I'd heard that my whole life for everything uncomfortable or deemed unnecessary. Just pray it away.
And how does that work for people? It doesn't.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I spent 30 minutes every day crying in a little closet filled with clothes. I had to turn the mirror around that was in there so I wouldn't see my face because I felt guilty and shameful.
Absolutely.
And I cried for something to change. I cried for something to be better, and I beat myself up. And eventually they sent me home because they thought instead of taking me out of the situation, they would try the medical route. And that didn't work too well. And that's when I started having like first really bad traumatizing experiences with getting help for mental care. They gave me a therapist, and every week I would go to him, and he would make me relive what I had lived for the past 6 weeks, and then I'd have to tell him what my part was, what I did wrong. And we never took into account that there's another person in this, like, there's a few other variables in this case, and it was just all like, what could you do better?
No validation, no appreciation, no acknowledgement. Hard, especially for the good girl who's doing everything right. So what gives?
Yeah. And I actually went back out on a mission because they thought they had found the right medication to put me on, and I knew all the right answers to say like I had my whole life. And I didn't last too long back out in the field because I was just so sick, and it went way deeper than the surfaces that we were scratching. What
I love about the way you're showing up in your life is how you feel is so important. If you're not feeling it, if you're not allowing yourself to like, hey, this thing I'm doing, not only do I not feel it, the more I push into it, the worse I get. It's not like it's even just a tolerable thing. It's putting me to a decision, a choice to either become this cardboard person that isn't real and therefore shouldn't exist. No wonder you want to be like, okay, I'm going to off myself because that person isn't real. And versus or compared or contrasted to the person that you're fighting for today, which is somebody who is alive in their life.
Yeah, very true. Like, when I came out, I decided to like get into my rebel phase a little bit, as my family would view it, that I'm still in. But I left. I left for a while and, gotten a tattoo,
Oh, no.
all the bad things. And
I mean, that's all the way. What's
yeah.
worse than that?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's pretty great. Now it's my therapy, but that's another story. Anyway, but I felt pressured to go back in to the part and the role that I had played before. And for lack of a better terms, it's like a packed closet. You take me out of the closet and then there's a landslide of crap that falls and I can't fit back in that space anymore. So I tried fitting back in that space and it just was nowhere to be found. So I was just kind of in this in between for half a year.
Seeing the, family dynamics are set up and they work, but doesn't mean they're healthy or productive or good or, have a measure of joy. It doesn't matter if it's, painted Christian or painted with, resources and nice things or painted as, pride in their poverty. How were you able to see the family system that needed you to be sick and then step away from that? And are you redefining how to show up in those relationships that are important to you or recreating them? So let's go back to that idea of like, now I'm learning how to put my pyrotechnic skills and my passion for fire to, instead of burning the bridges that are meant to serve me, to burning the bridges that like I will not cross anymore and that aren't serving me.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest way that I was able to see what was wrong was I literally needed to be taken out of that space. I found a great program with people who like actually loved and cared and didn't love and care for who they thought I was supposed to be. Oh. They just took me for what I was.
How refreshing was that, or is that?
It's so nice to just be accepted and truly seen for who you are. Because that's what made the difference. Is I was in some group therapy and one of the therapists called on me and I was like, I'm just not going to share. And in my head, I was writing that letter. I had this letter in my mind that I'd always write before I off myself, which is...
not only am I going to not share today, I'm not going to share ever again. And that feels kind of good. Like you're having this...
Yeah.
Like I'm not even here moment.
Yeah, I was totally somewhere else. And one of the therapists pulled me aside and she very lovingly and caringly talked to me. And I remember the conversation. I don't necessarily remember the conversation we had, but I remember the look in her eyes when I told her what was going on. And every single person up till that moment gave me pity in their eyes. But in that moment, she gave me true love and care and concern.
What was it about her CareBear Stare that you allowed it to come in? Why did you let it in?
I think...
Or how did it get in?
How did it
get past all your defenses?
I always like to claim that when I meet a person in my life that really hits me, I just say I have a them-shaped hole in my heart. Oh. And for some reason, she just found that hole and she was able to communicate perfectly at that time. And I was so desperately wanting that. I feel like I've always had this desire for a want for better, even though I may have not realized it in life. I was always willing to put in that fight and that struggle, or else nothing would have worked. So I was showing up for myself in little ways that I didn't even recognize.
Like how? What were you doing different that was starting to make a difference in your life?
I was really showing up and trying to work a program and listen to people who had the advice to give to me. And I was getting advice from outside sources that didn't have any tints or shades on them. They were just there to purely help the true me, not the me that could go back to their mission or the me that would make them look better or good. It was just they wanted whatever raw form of me there was to offer.
I love the idea, and it's not mine. It belongs to Tim's story, but when your recovery isn't a go back, it's a comeback, and you don't go back. You don't like show up now as some kind of discount version of yourself. You show up as all you, and you're coming through and becoming someone new, which means you're not going to fit the old dynamic. It's not going to happen. You're not going to become that person that you should or somebody wants you to be ever. And grieving that is so important. Those are the bridges you want to burn, because now it's not just burning. Like, that's the great thing about you is burning is vital, but you're also a creator, and you're also allowing new bridges to get built to you from places that you are genuinely hopeful and open to them possibly moving you forward or making progress. Or like you said, you really do care about life, and you really do care about people around you, and you really do want other people to like feel cared about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so let's talk about that for a minute. You shave your hair because you care. Tell me about the shaving the head. Why is that a sign of like you caring about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've just kind of had this dream or fantasy about shaving my head. My grandma got cancer back when I was a junior in high school.
And you never would have done it before, right? I mean,
I would have never done it.
Cared more about what other people thought.
I hadn't before. Like, I was heavily into theater, so I was like, oh, I can't do that because what if there's a time period piece and I need hair and they don't have a wig to provide for me?
But you really wanted to bond with your grandma who was going through cancer, right?
Yeah. And I've always had this, I hate living life in what ifs. And so I had this what if I had shaved my head.
Burn that bridge for sure, huh?
Yeah, just stuck in my head. And so I was going over with my life coach, and she was talking about things I could and couldn't control. And something that I can control was allowing myself to shave my head. I can't control how other people think about it, feel about it, view me, or anything like that.
And something that's come up for you for a long time. It's something you want to do, that it revs your engine, right?
Yeah, it's just something. And I was like, but I can't control how I feel. And I feel like I want to do this. And so I did it, and there was no regrets. I remember watching the video that my friend had took after we had cut off all my hair and shaved it completely. And
dude, your joy face right now, if you can like close your eyes, the joy that is coming through you of you owning all of you is magnificent.
Yeah, it really is. The moment that I saw it, I was just like, I did it. And I did it for me. And I don't care what other people think about, because this is my life. They can go live their own life. Like, if they want to do something, okay, perfect. Why don't you grow out your hair? Don't tell me to grow out my hair for you.
Yeah, because you would have different styles. You liked coloring your hair. You liked really using your hair as a way to express yourself, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I'm picking up from you that I think is really important is there's not anything crass about the way you're going about it. There's nothing that says, I'm doing this, so there. It's just you're just being you. And the love that emanates from like that place of acting from that place, the love and the smile that you like give, it's your CareBear Stare. I mean, it's coming right from your heart, and it's beaming like it never has before. That's the truth. I'm just telling you what's coming up out of your body and your energy.
Yeah, it's so true. I think it was just another great step into just accepting me. Like, I had a hard time accepting my true spirituality, but now that I have, like, I'm so much better for it.
And your world is too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like clearing a dirty window. I just kept putting crap on it. Like, I've got to be this. I've got to do that. I've got to, for whatever reason. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm cleaning, and like I can't see a difference at first. It's just smudging around. And then all of a sudden, like, I've had these huge like moments where I've just turned corners in my life, and it's like it finally broke through all that crud, and it just let so much light in where I could not only just see the light, but see that reflection and see who I truly am.
Yeah. When somebody's finally handing you the magic eraser is being you and letting like your inner wisdom like guide you and like embracing that and accepting that and going there in little ways until you do take that step of like, no, I'm shaving my head and I'm going to like, and there's a little bit more around that too. I think you were creative and proactive. Like you thought, I'm going to use my hair in this way to like even benefit other people. And so for you to like be conscious about it instead of reacting like, okay, I'm just doing it. And no, you made like a point to have a celebration of like, no, I'm being me. Who wants to join like this love me party?
Absolutely.
You didn't do it alone. It wasn't alone.
I even braided my hair. So when we cut off my hair, I had little pieces to give to people who like really made a big impact on my life. And I'm like, here's some dead things bunched up together in 2 rubber bands. Enjoy it.
For the month of love, I love you.
For the month of love, yep. Happy Valentine's Day.
Exactly. This has been very, very enjoyable. We're going to bring it home. I hope you feel and have a good experience so far. What are the takeaways that you want to make sure somebody hears from if whoever's listening out there right now? We don't do this just to do this. We do this because we care all the way. What's something you want somebody to really take away from this discussion, from this moment?
Yeah, definitely. You know, people always ask advice you wish you could have given yourself when you were younger.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I like to view the question, like, what is something I would have liked to know or known like before this process? And what I hope to leave with people is no matter where you're at in life, keep your goal and your object the person you want to become. Have that be your goal. Don't let other people interfere with it or material or anything like that. But the one constant in life, the one thing you're promised is yourself. So you might as well reach for a goal you can obtain by looking at yourself, looking deep in with yourself, and giving the life you want to that person.
I mean, when you think about at one point that treasure was impossible for you, and now you have the treasure. You've slayed the dragons. Was it worth the suffering? Was it worth the pain? Was it worth the figuring out?
Absolutely. There's that great philosophy where it's talking about a demon comes to you and says, at the end of your life, you'll just be reliving this in a time loop. And I've always had the thought, no matter what, I look back on my life, and even through all the crappy things that have happened, I can't help but thinking, but it got me here. Or I can find at least one thing that I really love and would do it all over again for.
I love that. Love it. I love you. Love all of you all the way, no matter what. No judgment. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Everyone, this podcast is sponsored by I Am Recovery. Find them on the web at imrtc.com. Phone number 801-407-9998. We win together. We shave our hair because we care, but we don't do it alone. So wherever you're at, find us, find someone in your life, find that person who is willing to see you, that they can make a shape of them in your heart, and you know they want good things for you. Let it in and find a way to do it together, because we don't ever do anything meaningful in life alone. So keep winning together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone. And love you. Cheers.